In this video, I want to discuss with you exactly why I talk about the things I talk about here on the channel for anyone who might be new to the channel and kind of you see some of this content and you're like, what's he talking about? Uh, I want to give you some context in terms of how I ended up talking about what I'm talking about and why it's relevant to you, especially if you're someone who is trying to use psychedelics for your own healing. So, there's a lot of folks out there right now who have heard about psychedelics and psychedelic therapy. They think it's as simple as just eat some mushrooms and my mental health will get better. And then they run into a bunch of problems. And so in this video, I want to explain to you what those problems are and how I've come to find what I think is the solution that you need to get where you want to go. So if you're someone using psychedelics to self-heal, this video is highly, highly relevant to you. So please join me for the conversation. Let's have a chat about it. So really quick context here, just in case you've never seen me, you don't know my work, you just clicked on the video for whatever reason. I just want to introduce myself really quick and let you know who I am so you know whether or not you should listen to anything I have to say here. So my name is Dave. I'm a coach. I'm a hypnotherapist. I have a personal history with psychedelics that goes over 30 years, back to the early 90s. I have done psychedelics in just about every context you can imagine. I've done them a lot for a long time now. I have been coaching for about 10 years. I'm trained in hypnosis, NLP. I'm studying therapy all the time. And I work with people in support of psychedelic work, so kind of psychedelic assisted stuff, as well as I coach people just generally around how to heal, what the process of self-healing looks like. And particularly on this channel, we talk a lot about integrating not just psychedelics, but spirituality, personal development work, self-help, how to heal yourself, and how all these things go together, because there is a way that they fit together. And I want to help you understand that. So if that's of interest to you, you're in the right place. If that's not at all of interest to you, or you don't like something about either my background or what I'm talking about, then this would not be for you. So anyways, with that said, let's talk about it. So this video is a little bit of a brain dump here. This is a video I've been meaning to make for a while, just to kind of, again, welcome newer people to the channel, people who have never seen me before, give a little context to what I'm talking about, why I'm talking about it. And the way I organize this in my own head is that this is a how we got here kind of video. So why is any of the shit I'm talking about here necessary for you if you want to use psychedelics to heal? And I want to be clear about that up front, because there's a whole valid approach to using psychedelics, which is just recreational or semi-recreational, where it's about fun, it's about affirming life, it's about well-being, it's about going to festivals and listening to music or doing art or just self-reflection and meditating, or all those other uses of psychedelics, which I think are beautiful and are healing in their own way in little bits and pieces, are profound and life affirming. And I certainly wouldn't want to take that away from you at all. So, if that's kind of your approach to psychedelics, more power to you. I have used and do use psychedelics in those ways too. So I get it. But the context I'm talking about here is more for people who are looking at how do I actually heal myself? How do I work with psychedelics to either uncover what needs uncovering and process it? How do I actually process it? How do I actually create transformation that lasts, right? And I want to explain to you, so that's the context here. And I want to explain to you in this video, again, this is a brain dump. I have ideas, but I haven't written this down. It's not outlined. So sorry if I yammer as I'm reaching for what it is that I want to say a little bit here. But let me create a little context here for you. So what I see a lot online and in real life, I live in Denver, by the way, so psychedelic hub, tons of psychedelic therapists here, tons of people using psychedelics here. The culture is big here, right? And I've lived in California. I've lived in Northern California, which is another huge psychedelic hub. I've been involved in all that world for a long, long time, right? What I see, especially since over the last 10 years, since the marketing of psychedelic therapy as a thing, in the blogosphere and in YouTube and in media, now that MAPS is pushing for legalization and people are kind of coming out of the psychedelic closet, so to speak, and you're hearing about it, and people have never considered doing psychedelics are learning that they don't fuck you up and they can actually help your mental health. Now we have this huge influx of people coming in. What I see a lot, especially online, especially on Reddit, where I've put years into answering questions there, what you see a lot is People who think it's as simple as, oh, I've never done them before. How much should I do? I'm just going to get like a bag of mushrooms and going to do them and that'll heal me, right? Or I'm just going to do mushrooms and go sit with a therapist and that'll heal me, right? Especially if the therapist isn't trained in psychedelics, right? What often happens is that people assume that either the medicine itself does the healing, that they only need to have like one big, profound, intense psychedelic experience, and that's going to then fix their brain and they're going to be mentally healthy. We see people assume on the other end of the spectrum that it's about really digging in and finding their trauma and getting the answer. We see that people assume that it's about understanding, right? That it's about, if I know what my issue is more clearly, I don't know what it is, but I don't know why I'm anxious or depressed or whatever. But if I knew, then I'd be healed, right? And what we end up finding over and over and over, or at least I've found, I don't want to we a me, but what I found over and over and over is that people inevitably get confused about the information they get and whether it's real or accurate. They find that they maybe know something more now, but they still have their issue and their patterns, their behaviors, the emotions, the cycles of triggers are still there, right? We find that people try therapeutic approaches that don't work and either overwhelm themselves or find that it just doesn't compute with the psychedelic state and the psychedelic mindset. And most often, what we see is more people having bad trips than I've ever seen before, ever. I mean, back in the 90s and early 2000s, sure, occasionally each of us would have a difficult psychedelic experience or someone would have a really bad trip on occasion at a festival, but it wasn't like now I see more reports of people having hard times than having easy times with psychedelics, right? And maybe that's kind of, there's bias there in terms of like, the self-selecting group of people trying to get help. So then, people are vocal about it because they're trying to figure it out. And so it looks like more, but I see tons of reports of people who it was either a confusing experience, just difficult, but not clearly therapeutic, somewhat helpful, but again, like, it's just like banging your head against the psychedelic wall, trying to get answers and get clarity. And it's just uncomfortable and overwhelming and confusing. Or you see people, go to these retreats, these like ayahuasca retreats, psilocybin retreats, assuming that that model, that the kind of shamanistic model is going to have a therapeutic effect, right? Which again, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I have plenty more I could say about my impressions about that, but I think it's really important you understand that the worldview that shamanism is coming from and the ayahuasca work is coming from is deep, it's profound, it's beautiful, but it is not necessarily informed by or shaped by a Western psychotherapeutic understanding of the mind and cognition and emotions and all that. It's a very different way of seeing healing. So you're not necessarily going to get the same effect. So people basically, what I see over and over and over is people rushing into the space, not having any understanding of therapy or how to do therapy on themselves or what therapy is like, or they're coming from a background of shitty therapists and pill mills and SSRIs. They're trying to get off the SSRIs. They're trying to fix the symptom, right? So they're trying to fix their anxiety, their depression, rather than understanding that that's a symptom of a deeper imbalance for them to resolve, right? They are trying to fix themselves rather than trying to connect with themselves, relate to themselves, regulate themselves, understand this whole approach from a different lens rather than fixing, right? They are trying to dig into themselves. And there's a lot of desperation and fear and negative psychedelic experiences and, not being, and then also, honestly, from the kind of psychedelic therapy community, from the therapists, a lot of the therapists are new. A lot of them are just therapists who are just getting trainings right now and just barely getting up to speed, don't have a lot of experience with the psychedelics themselves. They don't have a long personal history of understanding the intricacies and the complexities and the layers of these medicines and the layers of the mind and different models of therapy that they may not have studied that may be more compatible, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So what we have is this landscape of people who aren't getting results. basically, or are getting difficult results, or think they're getting results, but they're confused about if it's actually working for them. And in general, it started to get me thinking about, okay, well, what do people need in place to understand about how to do kind of therapeutic work on themselves or how to interact with themselves, either on the psychedelics or not on the psychedelics? What do people need that's missing to help more people get the results they're looking for, and not be kind of just hitting up, against these, hitting your head against the wall here, and then kind of going, what the hell happened? Why didn't that work? Why don't I feel better? That was scary. That was overwhelming. That was confusing. That was beautiful and spiritual, but I still have my shit. I'm still depressed. I'm still whatever, right? What do people need in place in terms of understandings and skill sets to go from just like willy-nilly throwing paint at the wall, hoping that something's going to work, to really knowing how to do this and making it work? So that's the question that sent me down the rabbit hole of looking for other approaches, um, things that I've learned implicitly along the way over my 30 years that perhaps a lot of people don't understand. Um, Set me down the rabbit hole of looking to study other therapy modalities that are perhaps more compatible with psychedelics, and go get my guide training, and interact with people from the underground guide world to get their view on how this works, right? And what I found at the heart of all of that, if you really, really like boil it all down, right? What's at the heart of all of this stuff, it looks like on the surface, oh, I'm going to have these visions and these epiphanies and these moments of bliss and ecstasy, and that's going to heal me or fix me, or that's going to right whatever's wrong. Or if you're more of a materialist and a scientifically minded person, it might be, oh, I'm going to consume this molecule and it's going to like reset the receptors in my brain, and it's going to open neuroplasticity, and that's going to allow me to feel better and change these kinds of things, right? What I found at the heart of all of it, and this is why I'm talking about what I talk about on the channel, and it all connects, but you have to look fundamentally at what is a human being and what are human beings organized around? What is the thing that we need, and how do we work, and what's there with that might be cross contextual to therapy, or to shamanic work, or to recreational use, or to blah blah blah, all the stuff, right? What's the common thread there in being a human being in all these different situations that works? And what I found, and this is what I'm talking about a lot here on the channel, is attachment and attachment theory. In other words, relating, and understanding that relating is so much more than just, what's my relationship to this person or that person. Relating is a skill set, and relating is a major input for you as a human being that helps you to feel more safe or less safe, that heals you or that can wound you, right? And so on the channel right now, I'm really focused on helping people understand this piece. And what came out of recognizing this is actually a whole epiphany for me that turned into a kind of, honestly, a whole modality of work. And I think it's the foundation that when you put this in place, and really what it is a way to regulate your nervous system so that you feel safe, so that you feel comfortable, so that you feel at ease in your own body and able to be with discomfort and challenging experiences, right? You need that safe baseline in place to be able to deal with big psychedelic experiences, overwhelm, physical discomfort, emotional triggers coming up, somatic stuff coming up, like suddenly your body is doing a crazy thing, or it's offloading stress in a way you don't recognize. These are all very common in psychedelic states or in psychedelic therapy work. And you need an ability to be able to work with that stuff coming up comfortably. It doesn't make sense to throw a lot of wattage at you if you get easily overwhelmed and uncomfortable, which is, I think, where most people are at, right? So we want to create comfort as the precondition to be able to do this work. We want to make it doable, right? We want to make it like, I can handle this. right? And for a lot of people, just the proposition of doing therapy is so scary because they're afraid of what they're going to see and what they don't know about themselves, that that alone is triggering, and therapy sober seems not doable. So then they want to take psychedelics and assuming that that's going to make it easier, when in fact it's just like amplifying all the stuff. It's like turning up the volume on all your stuff even louder, which makes it less doable for a lot of you. So we need to make it doable, right? So what I found is this approach and this way of viewing yourself and others and the contents of your mind, and the tool of relating, the way you relate to what you see, creates this safe precondition to then be able to tolerate more medicine, stronger experiences, uh, trauma coming up, issues coming up, right? And makes that more comfortable. I'm not going to say it makes it comfortable necessarily, but it makes it doable. It makes it, I can do this. Like, I can work with this, which is the place you really want to be if you're going to be eating 5 grams of mushrooms, or if you're going to be taking 300 micrograms of LSD, or, taking a bunch of MDMA, you know, taking these substances, as awesome as they are. I love them. I value them. I really do. But taking these substances by themselves is not going to get you to regulated necessarily, to well-being, to safety. And what I think I think we have it backwards. I think we want to take the substances, do the therapy to feel safe, but I think it's actually the other way around, that you want to feel safe first, enough to be able to take the substances and do the therapy and process what needs processing. It's the creating a safety that's missing in the psychedelic therapy landscape, broadly speaking, and in the psychedelic landscape, broadly speaking, and quite honestly, in the world around us at large. And so this is where we're at. This is what this channel is about in a big way right now, to give you that foundation, to give you that precondition. There's all kinds of other complicated, deep, nuanced, philosophical, profound topics I would love to talk about. Some of my clients who interact with me a lot and have been for a while get the privilege of getting all of that nuanced, complex fractal of information from me, because I know that they can handle it, and because they're in a place where they're ready to see and ask that stuff. But on this channel, and what I think, just what's needed out there isn't more insights and more ahas and like, whoa, this model and this way of saying it. And I love all that stuff. But it's not what people need. What you need is to feel like this is doable in the first place. So what I've created here, and I'm creating this course around, and what I'm talking about here on the channel a lot, is this layer of creating the safe preconditions first. There are other aspects to this that I'm happy to talk about. And if you ask me questions here in the comment section, I'll make videos about it. But this is where we're at right now. And this is what's needed in the psychedelic therapy landscape at current moment. And I would say, even honestly, as a shared understanding amongst therapists, there are a lot of therapists out there, and coaches and guides and shamans, not just therapists, like anyone doing this work with people needs to clearly also understand and have a really good map of the importance of relating as the foundation upon which all the rest of this work happens, right? So if you're looking at it from an energetic worldview, or from a psychodynamic therapy worldview, or these other models that people bring, a Jungian kind of depth, psychology worldview, if you're bringing all these other things, but you're not really clear about the importance of relating as an input for safety in the person's nervous system, you can still either have a really unproductive session, or worse yet, God forbid, you could end up harming your client. And so this is something all of us need to know, which is why I'm so passionate about it, why I keep talking about it. So anyways, I'm going to wrap the video here, but that's where we're at in this landscape. And so what you need to know is how to create the container for yourself to make this work doable. And then from there, there's how to do the work, right? And this all fits together. This all works together. This is all stuff I'll be teaching. This is all stuff I'll be showing you guys. And then there's the implications of this work. Like, what changes as we heal or as we understand things more clearly? How does this change our understanding of spirituality, of, self, of family systems, of relationships, of, new age concepts, et cetera. So there's so much there, but it all rests on understanding this. So that's it for now. Just want to share that with you guys. I hope that makes sense. Let me know what you think down below. Does that resonate? Yeah, so this channel is definitely about getting that right first. If you want a channel that's just about like doses of mushrooms, or I had this vision or trip report XYZ, definitely not the place for you. This is for people who really want to know, how do I do this work? What am I missing? Why am I getting overwhelmed? How do I deal with triggers? How do I avoid getting overwhelmed when I'm doing this work? Blah, 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 blah. How does all this fit together? How does psychology and spirituality and personal growth, how does all that fit together? If you want to know that kind of thing and you're serious, you're in the right place. But if you want just like real basic, you know, oh, psychedelics, like, this is not the place for you. So, anyways, would love your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Much love to you all. I hope you're doing well out there. Take care.